Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I've got something that I'm really excited to share with you guys today, and it is an advent calendar that you can make with your Cricut. And this is going to be reusable, so you can continue to fill this with goodies each year. And I really love this alternative better than the store-bought calendars because you can easily personalize it for anybody that you give it to. So I can give this same calendar to, my youngest daughter who's 10 or my oldest who's in college and give them each stuff that they're going to love. So I'm super excited about this. And these are also going to be great gift for teachers. You can do a 12-day version, which would be really great for teachers, and it gives you a little more time to put it together. But they're just really fun, and I'm really enjoying this project. This does take some assembly, and I am going to walk you through all the steps, but because it is such a large file, I have divided it up into 3 different files. Now, if you're doing the 12-day version, it's only going to be in 2 files. The second and third are going to be combined together. But go ahead and make sure you walk through each of the files in Cricut Design Space with me so that you can see how these need to be modified. And before we get started, you will need to grab the file from my blog at svgnation.com, and I have left a link in the video description that's going to take you directly there. So once you have that uploaded, we're going to go ahead and go in order with 1, 2, and 3. So this is what the first file is going to look like. And I'm just going to zoom out so you can see it better. And if you're doing the 12-day version, it's going to look very similar. You're just going to have about half the amount of stuff on here, and you won't have this connector piece. So we're going to go ahead and ungroup these. And this is going to take a minute because you need to turn all of these squares and lines into score lines and attach them. But it's really easy to do, and they are grouped to make this easy for you. So we're just going to click right here on this line and change the operation to score. And then you can just click on the group of it together and attach it. And I'm just going to close that after I do these just to keep this area a little more organized. So we're just going to click on the square right here and we're going to score, click on the whole group of layers and attach. So this is all that we're doing, but we're doing it a lot. You'll do it half the amount of time, obviously, if you're doing the 12 days. And once you are finished with adding all your score lines and attaching them, you may want to go ahead and save this project. That way, if you ever want to make these again, you don't have to go through all of that. And I'm going to show you how you can make sure that they are all done. If you go to make it, just pick a mat right here, confirm. See how I have these random lines on a different mat? That means I have not attached these. When they are attached, you should see, let's find one that you should see them on the actual sheet as score lines attached to them. So as long as you have a random sheet in here with score lines on it, that means you still have more to do. So that's just going to kind of be a way to test to make sure you got them all. But I'm not going to make you sit here while I attach all of these. So go ahead and get all of those attached, and then we'll come back and cut these. Okay, I've got all the score lines changed and I've got them all attached, so everything looks good and it's ready to cut. And for this paper right here, this is going to be the base of your advent calendar. So I highly recommend using a heavyweight cardstock, especially if you plan to reuse these. And I am using a 100-pound weight white cardstock, and I'll go ahead and link to that in the description. That way, if you guys need a recommendation for one to use, it does work really well. And so let's go ahead and cut out all the pieces. If you're using a scoring tool or scoring wheel, go ahead and attach that and add it in there now. And if for some reason you're not using a scoring feature and you're just going to fold these by hand, I probably should have mentioned this before, but you're going to just delete all of those lines instead of changing them to score lines. But I highly recommend using a scoring tool. I'm using the scoring stylus, and this is really inexpensive to pick up, and it just works great, and it's going to make this project so much easier for you. So I'll leave the link for that in the description as well in case you don't have one. And I use this for boxes and cards and so many projects. So if you follow along with me and want to make some of the crafts that I make, you're gonna really need this anyway, so go ahead and grab it. But let's go ahead and cut these. It is going to take a few minutes, so just prepare yourself for that. Once all of your base pieces are cut out, go ahead and organize them. You're going to place all the same size pieces together. And if you're making the 24-day calendar, you are going to have double the amount shown here. These are just the pieces that you're going to need for each structure. And a lot of the pieces are very similar, but you can see for the bottom piece, it does not have those side tabs. And then the side pieces are just a little bit shorter than the middle pieces. So that's just how you can tell them apart. And go ahead and grab your frame so we can start assembling this. And with your bottom piece, go ahead and fold on both of the tab lines and then glue the bottom piece to the bottom of your frame. And you're going to want to turn this so that the bottom piece is flat to the bottom. So think about standing it straight up flat, and you want that flat bottom there. And then you're going to grab one of your middle pieces and fold on all 4 of the score lines. And you're going to glue this next layer down just as you did the bottom piece, only this time the flat side is going to go up. And each time that you glue the rest of these middle pieces down, you're going to continue to glue them with the flat side up. So kind of think of these as being shelves. And then after that, go ahead and grab your 3 small bottom pieces and fold on all 3 of the tab lines, and you're going to then glue those down in those in-between spaces between those 2 layers. And it doesn't matter which way you turn these, just make sure that the side that does not have the tab is the side that faces up. And you're going to need to press down really good and hold these together. Probably hold them for about 10 seconds or longer so they stay in place. That way they don't fall out of place as you start putting more down. And go ahead and add all 3 of these bottom pieces. And then after you add the bottom pieces, go ahead and continue to repeat these steps until all of these pieces are attached. And you're always going to attach the long layer first, and then the ones that go vertical in between them after, the little compartments that are in between them after. If you do the compartments first, the layer that goes across is not going to slide in correctly, so always do that long layer first. And when assembling this, I really do not recommend using a hot glue. It's going to be a thicker glue, so it's going to throw off the measurements, but it also dries really quick, so it makes it really difficult to work with. But you do want a good quality glue, so this is not a project that you can just grab your kid's school glue for. I'll go ahead and link to the glue that I'm using in the description in case you need to grab some. So once you have your frame pretty much assembled, then you're going to go ahead and glue your roof into the place. And you're going to glue this to that front piece, and make sure that the tab of the roof is going over the front piece of your frame while you glue it down. Later, we're going to glue the back, so you don't have to worry about that. There's actually nowhere you can really glue the back until we add our back piece anyway. And then you're going to grab your 2 side pieces, and we're going to glue those on next. So go ahead and fold on all of the score lines, and then you're going to add glue to the front of your frame, and then you're going to add it to those little side tab pieces, and then go ahead and glue your side into place. And you're going to add glue to the bottom tab of your side so that you can fold that over and glue it to the bottom. And then that top tab, you're going to go ahead and fold over and glue to the top of the roof. And when you glue your sides down, make sure that you are pressing them in tightly, because you don't want any gaps, because then the front of your house is not going to be like the perfect size. You'll have a little bit of a gap on the side. So just hold that in and press it together, and just hold it for a little while, maybe even 30 seconds while that glue starts to really take hold. And then you can go ahead and repeat this with the other side. And once both of the sides are glued down, go ahead and flip your structure over and place just a small amount of glue under the sides where you're able to, and then just press and hold those pieces down. This is just to keep that little flap held down, so you don't need much glue for this. So now that you have one of your structures assembled, you're done if you're making the 12-day, but if you're making the 24-day calendar, then you're going to need to repeat all of these steps to make your next structure. And then once both of your structures are built, you're going to need to attach them together. So go ahead and grab the long skinny piece. You're going to go ahead and fold that in half. Make sure you fold it pretty good on the score line. And then you're going to press both of your structures in together and make sure they're tight and that the bottoms are lined up perfectly, because then you're going to glue this piece to attach them together. And because you folded the piece first, it's not going to lay flat. So you're going to want to hold it down really well while it dries. So I actually just put some books on top of it and just let that hold it down flat while it dries. But you do want to fold this first, because if you don't, it's going to be a little harder to fold on that score line once they're attached. So you can just go ahead and put that aside while it dries. And we're going to go ahead and cut out the rest of our pieces. And when you do attach the piece that's going to hold them together, make sure that you attach this on the top sides of both of your boxes. And the top side is going to be the piece that has all the little tabs going across the front. So it's very important that you do attach it to this side, otherwise it's going to be backwards. So now that we have our base built, we're going to go ahead and cut out all of the graphics in the files 2 and then 3. And like I said, if you're doing the 12 days of Christmas, those are already combined. So I'm going to walk you through the steps of what you need to do to change anything in the files and to personalize it. So this is the second file, so we're just going to go ahead and ungroup it. And there's just a few things that we need to change here. These houses, all of these lines are going to need to be score lines. And they are grouped, so you can just click on that big group of lines, go to score right here, and now go up above to the house right here and attach all of those. Try to make it as easy as possible for you guys for doing this, and we're going to do the exact same thing for this house. If there was a way that we could import score lines in files, I'd have this done for you. But there's just not a way, and that's why you have to change them all. But I do go ahead and add the lines so that you know exactly where they need to be. Okay, there's also some right down here, the roof pieces. We need to go ahead and do those as well. This one is just like a line down the middle, so if you forget about that one, it's not the end of the world. And we're just going to attach. Change that. Score and attach. Okay, so that's all that you need to do for this file right here. And these pieces are ready to cut. If you notice on some of my calendars, I do have the inside and like the front and the sides a different color. So if you wanted to do that, they automatically cut on their own mat. So you don't really need to change the colors here because you'll just put the paper on the mat. But I get confused and I'll just see the color paper and keep going with it. So if you want to change the color, just click on here and just change it. So if you want like a purple front, and then you can just click on these and change those. That way you'll know to change the paper when you see that different matte color. So these are all ready to cut. Go ahead and go to Make It. Select your standard mat. And go ahead and cut out all of your pieces. So for the third file, the only thing that we need to make adjustments here is to personalize where it says Workshop. So we're going to start with ungrouping our layers. When you bring them in, it automatically groups everything in, which is why you always will ungroup them first. And then right here, we're just going to click on our little workshop. Okay, there we go. And there's a few different ways that you can personalize this, so I'll show you a few different ways. Let's see, we'll write. And if you're not sure, like say you're doing like a white elephant or something and you want to make this for this and you don't know who it's going to, you can always put like Santa's workshop. So it doesn't have to be with the name, or if you just want to give it to them where it's Santa's workshop because that's cute too, you can do that. So right here I've just created the text and I'm going to curve it to match this. And you can change the font as well. Once you kind of have the curve how you like it, you can select both of these layers, align it, and center them. I do need to shrink this a little bit. It's just a little too big. And now I'm going to align these and center them. So I could leave this just like this. And what this is going to do is the Cricut is going to cut each of these letters and I'll just have to paste them on top. Or what I can do is I can go ahead and slice these out of this so it has the same look as the workshop. To do that, you do need to go ahead and ungroup these layers right here for the workshop. And just a little note, if you notice these little lines right here, that's like the line in the P and the O and the R and the O. When you pull this off the mat, you need to make sure that you save these little pieces. There's 4 of them because you do need to glue those back on. So just make sure you watch for those. But we need to ungroup those. And once you do that, you can select the name. And then this right here, and you can just either slice or you can go to the combine and subtract. I prefer the subtract so I don't have to get rid of all the different layers myself. And so now it will cut it out just as it is with Workshop. And again, you're going to have to pay attention because see this little A, this piece between the A, the B, all of these little pieces, I will have to save and glue back on unless you just want like a big hole there. So I'm actually just going to use Cricut pens to do this. So I just, all I did is hit undo. And oops, I don't need to click a new text. I just need to double click in here. So I'm going to change this to a writing font. And if you have Cricut access, you can find all your writing fonts by going to filters and sort by writing. But I'm going to use some free ones that I've actually downloaded. And if you guys want to use any of these, I've got a post that has all these in it, so I'll link to that. But this one is called Always Here. And so I'm going to use that one. And all you're going to have to do is once you change it to writing, just go right up here, switch this to pen. And I am using a thick marker here, a 1mm marker. And I do recommend going kind of thick on it. I tried using like the 0.8 gel pens and it just felt kind of light. So I definitely prefer the look of the thicker marker. And then you're just going to, oops, sorry, I tried to select these, not move it. Select all of these and we need to attach those together. Okay, so now this is ready to go. We've got it personalized and we can go ahead and cut everything out. Just pay attention to the prompt so that if you're using your pen that you add it when you need to add it to write on this. But there's no scoring for this one. Okay, so once you get these cut out, we'll go ahead and we'll assemble it together. Okay, so now we have a lot of random pieces. And the order that you glue all of these down, it doesn't really matter that much. But I'm going to go ahead and start with the doors. And I'm just gluing each of the patterned Christmas paper that I cut out on top. And this is a step that you can completely skip. If you want to just leave the doors green or whatever color you're using for this piece, then you can do that. And this is going to save you about 30 minutes of cutting and assembly if you don't have time and you just need a little less time for assembling this. And if you are gluing them down, it is best to fold the door pieces first before gluing the paper on. This way you can line the paper up and it doesn't go over the score line to get folded on, because that's just going to kind of mess the paper up on the end, so you won't have as much of a clean look. And then you'll just need to glue each of the numbers to the circle pieces. And these are completely random, so it does not matter which number goes on which color. But there are 3 different sizes, so make sure that you do match them by size. And then randomly glue these to the doors of your advent calendar. And if you're making these for like siblings and you want them to open the same gifts on the same days, then just make sure that the roof numbers are the same for each. Because of all the different sizes, all the rest of the numbers are already going to be on the same size doors, even if you randomly place it. So just kind of be thinking about those roof pieces, just because they're the same size as those taller doors as well. And I'm going to go ahead and let this glue dry while I go ahead and assemble the front of the workshop. So you're going to start by gluing that main front piece down to the white house piece that you cut out in step 1. And this is going to give you guidelines for where to glue everything else down. And make sure that you glue the yellow layers of the window and the door underneath the window frames and the door, because this is supposed to be like the light peeking through. And then when you assemble the wreath, you're just going to glue the red layer over the yellow layer and then the green layer on top. And then you'll glue this to the door and then glue on your door handle. And you do want to make sure that the snow is the last thing that you glue down, because it does overlap a little bit over the string of lights. And so once the front of your workshop is done, it should look something like mine. Then go ahead and put that aside and assemble the back. And for this, you're just gluing that brick piece over the other white piece that you cut out earlier. And it's really going to help if you have like a fine point glue for this. And so once you have like the bricks glued to the back, then go ahead and grab the frames that you set aside to dry, and you're going to glue the side brick pieces on all of your sides as well. And you can see that the brick pieces do kind of line up, so make sure that you kind of line them up and glue them down as you like them. And then you're just going to glue the snow pieces to the top of your roof. And guys, believe it or not, we are almost done. I know we've done a lot, but we just have a few steps left. So now you're just going to open up your workshop and glue down those pieces with the doors to the front of your box. And of course you'll do this for both sides if you're doing the 24-day calendar. And make sure you press this down really well. And it can also help to close the box and press down on it. And while you have it closed, go ahead and glue the back of your workshop on and then glue the front on. And continue to press down really well. I actually place some books on top of it to kind of hold it all down while it dries. And that way everything dries nice and flat. And then once these are all dry, you can go ahead and fill them up with all your goodies. Just open the doors, and then when you close them, just let the little green flap or whatever color you use for that, let that go over the door to help keep it closed. And I've listed some ideas for what you guys can put in these for different ages in my blog post. So you can go there for some ideas or look at it while you're grabbing the file if you need some help or inspiration for these. But I really hope you guys enjoy these, and I hope that the people getting them enjoy them as well. And if you do make them, then please tag me in them on social media when you post it. That way I can see them, and I'd love to share them in my stories. And I would love to see the versions that you guys create for this advent calendar. So make sure that you do tag me. And if you have any questions on how to make these calendars, leave those in the comments and I will answer them there. And thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.